So we'll see what's going on here right now. We're ready. How will blinking animation revolutionize competitive Pokemon in Gen 3? Alright, let's give her a watch. 3, 2, 1, go.
Diamond, Bytunder, and Ozai. Say hi.
Hi.
They're my perfect, shiny, competitive, legendary beasts. And they're impossible to get in the third generation of Pokemon games.
Oh.
Or they were, until a couple of years ago. And what finally helped me catch these powerful pocket monsters?
Espeon.
Well, Espeon blinking its eyes, of course. You see,
Really?
Suicune and Raikou are some of the best competitive Pokemon in Gen 3. They've both won tournaments and been on a lot of high-profile teams, so they're generally really desired by competitive players. But what made them so hard to get, and why did we think it was impossible? You might think you could just use the beasts in Fire Red and Leaf Green, the roaming ones.
Yeah.
They're available once you give the Sapphire to Celio in the Sevi Islands post-game quest. Well, these encounters are actually the first problem. They're bugged, and pretty badly. The defense, special attack, special defense, and speed.
Yeah, I was just about to explain it, yeah. You've only played on the 3DS. Well, the Game Boy games were pretty good back in the day. But yeah, I remember this. Yeah, in Gen 3, yeah, the legendary beasts all had their stats completely bugged, and they were not competitively viable at all. Which sucks, because typically they can be pretty good, but when they got zero IVs here, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. Let's have him continue. I think maybe he'll explain it better than I can.
Stats are always going to be the lowest possible value for these encounters. And the highest their attack stat can be is 7. This means the only normal stat they have is HP. So obviously these encounters are off the table for competitive players. Their stats are bad, and the hidden powers would be quite limited. And Raikou really relies on hidden power as a coverage option in Gen 3, as you can see by this barren move pool that it has.
Yeah, and hidden power is many people don't realize it, but it is competitively viable. Depending on a mixture of what is it, EVs and no, not EVs, IVs. Yeah. I don't think EVs help it, but IVs. Oh, and if you don't know what those are, I'm about to get all nerdy on you guys. But Pokemon have stats called called IVs. Yeah, the individual value, and what that does, it's a number between 0 and 31 that determines the limits of a Pokemon stats, right? And then EVs are effort values, which allow you to, push one of their stats to its maximum value based on the IV. And then hidden power itself, it's a move that changes type depending on your Pokemon's IVs. And maybe something else I can't fully remember. For example, Raikou, what hidden power would he desire? I can't remember. But it would allow him to attack a type that he normally couldn't. Yeah, like for example, if he had like hidden power water or something, it would allow him to take on a ground type he normally couldn't damage. An example like that. I don't think that's what really happens, but yeah, here I am nerding out on you all on Pokemon, but that's the basic gist of IVs, EVs, and hidden power. And we shall continue.
There is, however, another way to capture the beasts. Pokemon Coliseum. All 3 of the beasts are here and they don't have glitch stats, so we could just reset for them, right? Well, you could, but there's a big ol' asterisk on it. Resetting in Coliseum is an ordeal, even if you just want a shiny Pokemon, let alone a Pokemon with 5 perfect stats. First of all, there's only 1 Master Ball in this game.
Oh,
and
that's
it's obtained
true.
after you see all 3 of the beasts. While there are rematches for every Shadow Pokemon in the game if you KO them, Coliseum does something peculiar regarding its capturing mechanics. When you encounter a Pokemon just once, its stats are permanently locked. If you saved after fainting to it, or KOing it to rematch it later, the stats, nature, and shininess won't ever randomize again.
Oh, that's true,
In addition to this mechanic, Coliseum does not allow trading until you beat the game's main story. And all 3 beasts are obtained before the credits roll, so you cannot trade over Master Balls. This means that we cannot put these...
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it's why Coliseum was a bit of a pain. Even if you had a really good Pokemon, you had to wait till the end of the game to transfer them. And if you want to reset for one, especially if you want to like shiny reset, it was a lot more cumbersome than it is in the ordinary games. It really is. It is painful. Yeah. Shiny hunting can be quite a headache. You're talking like hundreds of resets if you're lucky. and thousands upon thousands of resets if you're not. I remember one time I tried shiny resetting myself, and I finally got it. I lost track, but I know it was somewhere in the 2000s. After 2000 resets, I finally got my shiny starter, and the stats were complete garbage too. But at least he was shiny. That's all that mattered. Yeah, shiny resetting takes it takes more patience and dedication.
these captures off.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get all three beasts in the standard Pokeballs rather than Master Balls, and that could take a while in terms of resetting. On top of that, a Pokemon with 5 perfect stats, hidden power type, and the nature I want are extremely rare. You might be familiar with shiny Pokemon. A typical shiny is a 1 in 8192 chance to find in Gen 3. This
Yep.
takes players months to reset for in Coliseum. But what I want? There's about 4.2 billion different nature and stat combos in this game, and there's only 2 timid hidden power grass spreads with the best possible stats.
Yeah, hidden power grass. That's the one Raiko wants. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Myself, I don't, I haven't played competitively since Gen 4. It's way too much to keep track of. And even back then, I barely managed it. I don't know how people can do it today. I mean, nowadays, I hear it's much easier to get the perfect Pokemon that you want. Oh, but back in the day, it was a complete hassle. Absolutely.
That's a 1 in 1.2 billion chance to find the Pokemon I want. And I'm not talking about a shiny plus perfect stats. I'm just talking about perfect stats. This is obviously completely unreasonable. The resets for these Pokemon can be upwards of 5 minutes per attempt, depending on how quickly they get in the Pokeball. That could take thousands of years. But
I
what about
could.
an advanced technique like RNG manipulation? Can't I use a
Oh,
calculator?
oh, RNG manipulation. That is good. And how do you check for hidden power? In Gen 3, the quickest way to check was to find a Kecleon and use hidden power on it. Because if a Kecleon has an ability where he'll change into the type that you attacked him with. Like, for example, Kecleon starts off as normal, right? But if you hit him with a fire move, he'll turn into a fire type. In Gen 3, and I guess other games where you can find a Kecleon, to me, at least in Gen 3, that was the easiest way to find out what hidden power your Pokemon was because Kecleon he would change into that type, and there's like 3 static spawns 3 or 4 for to find the Kecleon. So as long as you never defeat it, you can always find one to test your hidden power. Yeah, but now RNG manipulation that's a different beast entirely. I think he'll explain it better than I can. Let's see.
Like speedrunners do to control the game's luck to be in my favor? RNG manipulation is actually possible in Coliseum, and it has been for years. But these 3
Yeah.
Pokemon each had something specific that made them either really difficult or impossible to get until just a few years ago. So
Oh
let's
my.
talk about what these problems were and how we overcame them, which allowed me to finally get these prized Pokemon in my party. The legendary beasts are part of the story, so they're always encountered in the same order.
Yeah, that's
First
true.
up is Entei, who has kind of a weird problem. The way the game's randomness works is actually really simple. If it has to do something random, it looks at a number called the current seed. It'll take that seed and then do some math to it, and then use that result to decide whatever needed to be randomly decided. This could be a Pokemon stats, or
Yeah, that there is a simple explanation of how randomness works in games. Sometimes it's not always like random. It's all calculation under the hood. Yeah, this is the kind of things I sort of like nerd out over. I don't understand all of it, but the parts I do understand, I find extremely fascinating. The people who learn this stuff are like geniuses on a different level.
an NPC's movement in a random direction. If nothing random has to happen, then that number never changes. In Pokemon Coliseum, the initial state of this number is decided by the GameCube's date and time.
Oh
So
wow.
you'd think we could control it, but we actually can't. It's decided not just with the date, time, and the minutes and the seconds. No, it goes all the way down to
Oh my gosh. So after some quick resets, I determined that the initial seed is the lower half value of the clock, the least significant part. It just takes it from the system quite early when the game is booted, and that's your initial seed. So if we could find our seed on boot, we should be good. The first thought would be, lol, just set the clock and boot the game frame perfect. But nope, this clock is incredibly precise. So much the mention of a frame, which is the length of time inputs are pulled, usually 1/30th to 1/60th of a second, is meaningless. The system clock speed is 1/12th of the CPU's own clock speed, which, if you do some math, gives you 1 tick every 22 nanoseconds. Wow. To put this into perspective, a frame in the GameCube menu is about 0.017 seconds, so 1/60th of a second. 22 nanoseconds is 0.00000000022 seconds. That is incredibly precise. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you can't manipulate the clock that way. That is insanely precise. Wow. They really went out of the way, it seems.
The nanoseconds. It's actually so precise that how fast the disk is currently spinning could affect what the seed is. Because this is not possible for a human to control, we have to find the seed by looking at the rental teams given to us in a quick battle. We look at the
Oh.
teams and we put them into a calculator program on our computer. And after about 8 teams, it can tell us what our current seed is.
Oh wow.
And here's our first problem with all of the beasts. Once we find said seed, it has to be close mathematically to the entei that we want. Since, as previously discussed, that's about a 1 in 2.1 billion chance,
Oh yeah.
it's not very likely that we're particularly close. This program here will tell me how far my target is in terms of seeds. So on this reset, I was 4 million seeds away. And it can also tell me how long of a wait that is. Waiting would be causing the RNG to move a ton, and passively, so we don't have to do anything. We can just leave the GameCube on. RNG manippers like to do this by waiting in a quick battle.
Uh-huh.
This causes
Oh.
roughly 2,000 RNG seeds to pass every second, and then we can re-find our position in the RNG by using the quick battle teams once again. Despite being multiple thousands of RNG advances per second, it can still be
49
several hours
Oh
of
my
waiting.
gosh.
So let's take a look at my first entei attempt so you can understand what I mean in terms of why these manips are so difficult and tedious. It took me about 2 hours of soft resetting to find a seed that was under a 2.5-hour quick battle wait.
2 hours. Wow.
This is easily the worst part of the manip. It is like the least exciting soft reset ever. I'm resetting to see a number I want, and it also needs to be close to a second number. I'm not even getting a Pokemon out of this. I'm getting the chance to maybe get a Pokemon. On top of that, Pokemon Coliseum doesn't have soft resetting. You have to hit the physical reset button on the GameCube every single time. Really, really fun. But once I am finally close after waiting for 4 or 5 hours, that's it, right? No more issues? Well, Coliseum has another unique aspect to its resets
Oh
compared to
no.
every other Pokemon game. You cannot save anywhere you'd like. The boss battle
Oh
that has
right.
Entei is at floor 10 of Mount Battle, and the nearest save point is here in the lobby.
Oh my
There's
god, yeah, that's right. You can only save at particular spots. So so you have to go through so much just to get the chance of getting a perfect Entei. This guy is completely dedicated. Oh my goodness.
Actually, a few NPCs that can cause random RNG advances because they move a little bit. It's usually a small amount, so if I'm consistent or quick, they won't affect my RNG manip too much. And I'll typically have like 2 extra advances, so it's not a huge deal. So after I run out of the lobby, I go up to Entei, accounting for the 2 RNG advances I expected, and I start the match. Now, Dakeem is a boss character, so his team is not easy to defeat.
Yeah.
I have to take him out and capture Entei with an Ultra Ball. Coliseum actually has a really exploitable glitch that can help out with this part. If you
Oh,
use a
that's true.
Pokeball with the first Pokemon of your 2 on the battlefield, and then swap that Pokeball's position in the menu on the second Pokemon's turn,
Yeah, it prevents that Pokeball from being used. The guy in white scares you. Yeah, thankfully that's a really very helpful glitch, and it allows you to preserve your one singular Master Ball. Yeah, after that point in the game, just use that glitch and use the Master Ball. A very, very, very helpful glitch.
you won't consume that Pokeball even though you throw it to capture it. So I can effectively have infinite Ultra Balls or whatever I'm using. Even with this glitch, it's still a difficult catch.
It is, yeah.
One of
Entei
the
is a
reasons is
fighter.
that Shadow Pokemon's main attack, Shadow Rush, lowers their HP, so they can cause themselves to faint. But after enough time, I catch the Entei, and I missed by 5 advances.
Oh no.
That's weird. I know it seems like a small amount, but there's literally no way I could have had that many extra. I also already accounted for 2, right? So I repeat this whole process, including the seed finding, and it happens again. The same exact amount. What's going on here? Well, it turns out that friendship, of all things, was causing my issues.
Friendship.
One of the ways that Coliseum increases a Pokemon's friendship is by checking a step counter that goes from 0 to 255. If you hit
Okay.
255 steps, the game does 1 RNG advance per Pokemon in your party. This is to check to see if that final step would have increased that Pokemon's friendship. Entei just so happens to be one of the only manips where the length from the save point to the encounter is long enough to trigger this extra RNG advance.
Oh no.
And I had 5 Pokemon in my party at the time. So it was 5 advances, and consistently at that. What was making this difficult before was I didn't know what was causing this. I didn't know if it was random, if the NPCs were messing with it. So now that I know it's consistent, I just accounted for the 5 extra advances every time because that's what it will be with my
Okay,
party
yeah.
setup. So now it's time for the third and hopefully final attempt at Entei. I run to Dakim, I try to
Oh,
catch it,
I
and I fail.
I could not do a speed run for the life of me. I don't have the patience or the precise skill from that. To even get into speed running, there are so many tricks you have to learn, so many games that have so many different strategies and routes and everything. At most, I would do like a timed randomizer maybe. But doing a speed run myself, I just don't have quite the precision to do all that, or the patience really, because so many of the glitches are like precise, frame perfect, the exact route at the exact same time, and I could not imagine, one thing going wrong in the middle of a 5-hour run, right, and having to start all over from the beginning. Now, other people speed running that we can do, but I can't speed run myself. I barely had the patience for something like this. I don't know if I could speed run. All right, see what happens to him next.
It faints.
Oh
This annoys me
no!
so much that I just continued on and I decided I'll catch Entei later. I couldn't manipulate later, I'd be locking it in. But I'd rather wait until I had the Master Ball or something else. This Pokemon is easily the worst of the 3 beasts, and it wasn't even my main target. So if I messed up, I wouldn't care that much. I was pretty sure I nailed it anyway.
Bye bye, Ante.
After Entei is Suicune, one of Gen 3's holy grails in terms of competitive Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that's
The
true.
procedure is very similar to Entei. Luckily though, I don't have to worry about the friendship check, it's not that many steps away from its save point. But
Yeah.
there is another problem, and
Oh
it's
dear.
that Suicune has random noise between it and the save point. And it's
Oh,
not
random
just a few
noises.
NPCs causing like 2 advances. It's thousands of advances caused by the game's environment. These particle effects all over the Under are causing the game's RNG to move at 60 frames per second because they're randomly generated every video frame.
Even for something as insignificant as smoke. Oh my gosh. Even something like smoke will cause major shifts. Oh my goodness.
On top of this effect, there are randomly moving NPCs in the Under, so that also causes chaos. This was a hard problem, and why it was considered impossible for decades to RNG manip a Suicune. What's the solve to this then? Do we just spray and pray? No. We just gotta close our eyes and relax a bit.
Uh-huh.
A couple of years ago, Japanese RNG manipper and dev Kakera discovered a second way to identify your position in the RNG, aside from looking at quick battle teams. Some Pokemon have a random blinking animation, and if you
Oh.
observe a Pokemon who can randomly blink in their summary screen and record each blink that you see, you can use that information to identify your RNG position. In the overworld, the RNG does move passively while in said summary screen, but it's briefly paused each time a Pokemon blinks.
Oh.
So when I exit a summary screen, I must do it while the RNG is paused. Luckily, Kakera built a tool that lets you input blinks to find your seed, and has a countdown timer to help you exit a Pokemon summary screen.
Even something as simple as a blinking animation. When your little Pokemon just blinks. Oh, that is fascinating. Oh my gosh. These people are truly amazing.
So the pattern for Suicune is to wait a while until I'm close to my target, but not too close, usually a couple hundred advances away, and then load my save and run through the Under. Of course, I first have to find a seed. I spent literal hours resetting for a good Suicune, and the closest
Hours,
I got
goodness.
was 5 hours. I just decided I'm gonna go with that. I actually had something to do that night, and I went to my friends to play board games while the GameCube cooked away. When I got back, I stopped the waiting and I just went to bed. Since the RNG won't advance in the main menu, the only things this could ruin was my GameCube's fan and disk drive, not my attempt at the RNG. When I woke up,
Yeah, it's okay for the hardware to take a small hit. Sit there 5 hours idling. It's worth it for the perfect Suicune. Listen, you have to break a few eggs and make an omelet. All right, the GameCube will be fine. It's a very very sturdy piece of hardware.
I went for an attempt. And this, I think, is one of the harder parts of doing a Coliseum or XD manip. Not the waiting, not even the timing execution, but staying calm under pressure. I know everything I have to do to get this Suicune. Load the overworld, run to the Suicune room, refine my position in the RNG using blinks, which is in and of itself difficult because I am staring at a monitor without blinking, trying to catch a Pokemon's blink. Wait using blinks to get close to my target RNG advance, close Espeon's summary at the appropriate time, and then catch.
Frame perfect
The
closure.
timing for closing the summary screen window is the only part of this process with any timing, and it's not particularly strict. But when I wait a long time for a single attempt, I get this self-created tension in my brain. I'm stressing myself because I don't want to wait another 5 hours. All this time comes down to one single button press. If I
Yeah,
fail,
yeah, that's rough. That's really rough there. Yes, I think some people have spent like the past like 15 to 20 years decompiling these old games. I've heard of several decompiling projects, some that were completed. Like for example, I think Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time have been fully decompiled. So people have seen everything in the game's code, how everything works and everything. You know, they can see what glitches exist and how to manipulate them, how they happen, and more importantly, you can mod them now. So I imagine maybe there was a Pokemon decompilation too to break down these old games and see how they work. Because once you have that, you can start building these programs, right? Just looking right into the digging right into the game's code. They're amazing.
I wait again. With the menu closed, I battle for Suicune. One of the nicer things about catching it compared to Entei is that you can actually get netballs in Coliseum before the post game, meaning it's the easiest of all three beasts to catch
Yeah,
since these give
netballs,
you a 3.5x boost to capturing water types and
like you
bugs.
said.
As the netball clicks, I check my party, and lo and behold, we've got Diamond, the 5IV modest Suicune. And it's also shiny. You might
Oh,
be thinking,
brilliant.
Lissy, really modest over bold? I like a more offensive Suicune, but it's, bold is good too, right? But also, a shiny? Isn't that even more rare than what you talked about before? Yes and no. In
Huh.
terms of strict odds, it would be even rarer, but I RNG manipulated my trainer ID and secret ID to make sure that all three of the beasts would be shiny.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's another thing that determines a Pokemon shininess. Is not just random chance, but also it's um yeah. You know when you play Pokemon, your little trainer card has an ID on it. That's your visible ID. But the game it also assigns you a second secret ID, and both of those values are can help determine if your Pokemon will be shiny or not. So it's what some people will do. Like they'll use cheat codes to find out what their secret ID is, and then using that, it makes it easier to manipulate your way into getting a shiny Pokemon. Yeah, even something simple like that, right? It's fascinating.
That does mean that when I was going for Entei and Suicune, my resets would be even more strict. I couldn't reset for any of the target Enteis or any of the target Suicunes. And the reason for that is our next target, Raikou.
Oh,
And of course,
Raikou.
Raikou has the exact same problem that Suicune has, in that there's an area with NPCs and randomly moving Pokemon between it and the save point.
Oh boy.
Except the randomly moving RNG never ends. Raikou's trainer is in that noise.
Oh, is
So we
he?
have to account for it by timing our A press to start the Raikou battle within a 1/60th of a second timing window. You'll be familiar with this timing if you've ever done RNG manips on Pokemon Emerald. So my plan
Oh
was simple.
yes, I
Find
have.
all the perfect Raikou seeds that exist in the entire game and reset until I was close to any of them. This drastically reduces the wait time. Then, once I found one, I would run down to Raikou's room, refine my seed using blinks to account for all the noise that happened, and when I was close enough to said Raikou spread, I would set about a 10-second timer countdown to start the battle, hoping to nail the
Amazing.
1/60th of a second timing after 2 hours of resetting. But I failed again and again
Oh
and
no.
again, and it was actually really inconsistent. Sometimes I'd be more than 1 second off according to the app. It turns out that this is because of what's changing the RNG. It's not like the GBA games, where every video frame is exactly one RNG advance.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's
why?
true. Yeah, it changes so rapidly in the Game Boy games. Speedrunners truly are superhumans. They're absolutely amazing.
Would it be? Why would it be something so easy and simple? You see, it's all about bubbles. The bubbles in these
The
tubes are a
bubbles?
particle effect the game randomly generates every single video frame. And which RNG seed you're currently on is what determines how many RNG advances will occur.
Oh
Think
no.
of it like this. If I'm on bubble sequence A, that RNG seed is going to determine, hey, the next time the screen is drawn, give me 12 bubbles. So the RNG advances 12 times that frame. But if I'm on bubble sequence B, the game might say, well, now I only need 6 bubbles. Because less bubbles were needed, we only advance 6 frames. In practice, this means I won't get consistent results unless I aim for the exact same Raikou every single time. I don't just mean stats and nature combination. I mean the 1 in 4.2 billion RNG state I'm looking for that generates a Raikou with a specific PID and IV combo.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
all that will work insofar as this method. Which means it's time to reset. This was
Again and again,
truly
huh?
miserable. I would sometimes go
All because of all those
5
bubbles.
hours without any reasonable distance. With Suicune and Entei, because Blink is fairly consistent, I don't mind waiting 5 or more hours. But with Raikou, because the timing is so strict, it's not something I really want to be doing.
For 2 hours and gaining nothing. That is very rough. Oh my goodness. Yeah, see, for something like this, I couldn't have the patience for something like that. For resetting for 2 hours, maneuvering around bubbles you can't control. Oh my gosh, these people are incredible.
How would it feel if I waited 6, 7, or 8 hours to miss one single video frame? A mere 16.67 milliseconds is what would prevent me from getting the Raikou that I wanted. It'd be awful. So by resetting for a few hours, I'm usually able to get a run that's an hour or less away. I'd say I average 1 attempt every 3 hours, which is probably pretty fast for this mon. Anyway, once I find a seed nearby, I do the requisite waiting. A few hours, you know? The usual. After that, I load up the overworld and run down to Ein, the trainer who has Raikou. But I don't engage the dialogue with him. I bring up the pause menu and enter the party menu. I then find my current position in the RNG using blinks.
Blinking.
From there, I have to wait again. Because there was random noise happening the entire run down the Shadow Lab, I can't get too close to my target RNG state, or I'll overshoot by advancing the RNG too much.
Oh yeah,
the goal
that's
at
true.
this point is to get the RNG exactly 500 frames away from my target Raikou. I get there using a combination of Blink and waiting in the overworld to let the RNG passively advance pretty quickly. Once I'm close,
Amazing.
I set up the Blink timer and wait. As long as it's synchronized with the beeps, I'm good to go. Once the Blink timer ends, I close the summary screen on the final beep, and now I set a timer for 500 frames. I close the party menu at the same time as starting my timer, which restarts the overworld bubble advancing.
Very precise, very precise.
I start the battle at the same time as the timer
Pikachu's,
ends,
you're here?
and now we have to catch the dang thing. Back to only Ultra Balls, of course.
Yeah, Pikachu's, you missed most of the video so far. But basically the general gist is to get the perfect legendary dogs in Pokemon Coliseum, you need to undergo a lot of RNG manipulation. And there are so many things that can affect RNG. And in this case, they learned that, it's not just NPC movements and friendship points that can affect it, but even your Pokemon's blinking animation in the party menu can affect the RNG. Uh, For something as simple as blinking to something crazy that you can't control, like bubbles popping up on the screen. How do they discover all that? Hours upon hours upon hours of research, my friend. These people are scholars, okay? They're modern day scholars. Dekar and Diogenes have nothing on the speedrunners, RNG manipulators, shiny hunters. Nothing. These people are true scholars of thinkers. But yeah, they're amazing. We're about to see if his attempt to get for the perfect shiny Raikou worked out.
And I get it. But I missed by 2 frames.
Oh, he missed by 2 frames.
3 hours.
No.
For 1 attempt.
No.
Again, I missed by 1/60th of a second.
That's rough.
That pressure I talked about with Suicune, it's like tenfold here. The stress is so unbelievably high. I feel so anxious. Keeping composed is a serious challenge for me during a tedious manip like this. At this point, I have the methodology down. It's just time to attempt it over and over and over. I would stream every day for 3, 4 hours when I got home from work. I'd miss by 1, 2, 3 frames every time, and it's my fault too. Sometimes I even miss the button. I just hit the wrong part of the GameCube controller. It's literally just a get good scenario. I wasn't skilled in it.
That's rough.
But finally, on April 20th, this happened.
I got it! Yes! Yes! Oh, I'm so happy! Holy
Oh.
Pog! Blissey Pogs!
He got it!
Blissey
He
Pog
got
for
it!
you is
Yay!
done!
Oh my
I'm at it.
gosh.
Perfect Raikou!
Good
Perfect
for
shiny Raikou.
him.
I'm so happy, dude. I feel like a shiny hunter right now.
I was finally free. And even better, the Entei was also perfect and shiny.
Oh
Because I
wow.
accounted for the 5 advances, I got the Pokemon like I wanted in Real Game Coliseum.
Amazing.
Now, things have improved a decent amount since I've done this manip. There's English tools available, everything I used here was only in Japanese, and also the Blink tool is no longer a separate program from the Raikou tool.
Huh.
But honestly, using Japanese tools and timers isn't what made this tough. It's having the patience to reset. It's
Oh, that's
dealing with the
true.
stress of waiting for hours just to fail by 1/60th of a second, and having the energy and desire to try again. Since I've done this, dozens of people have gotten Raikou.
That's
And
awesome.
many more have gotten
That's
Suicune
awesome.
and Entei. And even more challenging Pokemon. If you enjoyed this story, maybe you'll enjoy the challenge as well.
That
I've
is
since used these
astounding.
beasts in many online and in real life battles, and I'll use them many times more. I love battling in Gen 3, especially on real hardware.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame that resetting wasn't easier in these games. XD lets you save anywhere. If we could have done this in Coliseum, only Raikou would have been a challenge at this point. But at the same time,
That's
it's cool to solve
astounding.
these kinds of problems, you know? So I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope to
I
see
enjoyed
that
that. That was amazing watch.
one day. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.
Brilliant. Well done. That that is amazing. All the dedication it took to get the perfect Raikou, Entei, and Suicune for competitive battle, despite all the setbacks. Now he's pretty much set now. And other people who do this, imagine people who would go through all that just to trade him, right? You know, catching it all the way in Gen 3, going through all the hoops to transfer it from Gen 4 to Gen 5, all the way to Gen 6 to Pokemon Home, and gosh, what else was it? I can't remember. Oh, but either way, that is true dedication. And these people are I don't have the words to say just how much I really admire the people who go through all this. Here, look, I'll link y'all the video. Please give it a watch yourself. Give it a like. Give it some love. Yeah, these people are amazing. They're wizards, scholars, learners, leaders. Okay, I have nothing but huge respect for speedrunners, shiny hunters, competitive players, people who dissect the game inside and out to learn every aspect of it. Unstoppable. Full respect for them, truly. Espion, why are you trying not to laugh? That's disrespectful. If you blink, you go to the RNG factory. Don't blink, guys. Don't blink. I blinked. The blinking animation was also used by my wife as I'm explaining what I'm watching. Like, just imagine the poor wife, right? She walks over, honey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, honey, what? Oh, listen to this. And the wife's just like, because she probably doesn't play Pokemon, so she's like, honey, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's right. You know, what did people do before mints and bottle caps? Kids today have no idea how easy they have it. You know, you get your fancy mints, your bottle caps, your little shiny charms. You know, back then, all we had was a 1 in 8,000 chance and praying to every god that we know, right? We prayed to Mew, we prayed to Celebi, we prayed to Jirachi, you know? We prayed to Arceus, alright? We didn't have these fancy tools back then. We had 1 in 8,000 chance that we liked it. Oh, yeah, shiny charms, shiny badges, shiny whatever. Um, I think they started in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I think you got a shiny charm in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. It only like halves your chances. I think you know jumping from 1 in 8,000 to like 1 in 4,000. Still a large chance. But then later games made it much easier. I think odds now are like I think I've heard they go as low as 1 in 800 chance. You know, still much easier than what we had. Yeah, back then, all we had was millions of resets and a dream. When you stare into the abyss stares back at you. And if you blink, you get the wrong nature and bad IVs. And imagine poor Espeon, little psychic Pokemon. How do I tell him the stats of the legendary Pokemon? I know, I'll just blink in a certain pattern. But that is amazing. Yeah. Alright, anyway. that video was done. It was a fun watch, interesting watch.